that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
And didn't I say on the third day he would rise? How are you? Happy Easter. I hope you've had a wonderful time of it. I've caught up with the family, which has been wonderful. I've had a bit of a car issue, which hasn't been as wonderful as one would have anticipated, and missed out on catching up with other friends that I had anticipated to catch up with. So at any rate, everybody's safe. That's the main thing, and I hope you are too. I'm sorry shows have been a bit thin on the ground in the last week or so. As I did say, I think in one of the shows last week, I've had not one, but more than that, friends die recently in strange circumstances. One who's a friend of Ramona and I, Dr. John Jamison, who passed away last week as well, particularly has knocked me around a bit. So my apologies for being a bit thin on the ground in the last week or so. But as you've probably picked up in a couple of little things that will have popped up over your day-to-day, tomorrow on The Voice of Freedom, I'm going to be speaking with someone who, well, from all accounts, is associated deeply with ASIO and ASIS and the Department of Foreign Affairs. DFAT has long been known as, if you like, the place that houses all our spies. And tomorrow night we will have, I guess, a whistleblower is the only way to term what we're going to have. So watch out for that one coming up tomorrow night in The Voice of Freedom. But tonight we're going to talk common law again with the lovely Ramona. Welcome to the show. I know you don't celebrate, but happy Easter all the same. You've got to say these kinds of things. I bet you had an Easter egg. You wouldn't be adverse to chocolate.
I did have chocolate. Well, not the Easter chocolate, not the Easter egg chocolate. So anyway, happy holidays for everyone. So anyone who is celebrating, I'm not into this Easter, Christmas and all that stuff. It's a little bit, off the topic, but that's okay. It's all good. Look, if you're celebrating, that's all good, and as long as you...
It's a nice time to catch up with family and friends.
Exactly. That's it. And enjoy your time. Yeah.
Indeed. Now, tonight, we're going to be talking about RICO. RICO, as I love to
RICO!
Now, most Australians will only know of RICO laws as something they were able to get, Al Capone on back in the day. And only an American law, not something that anything could be enforced in Australia under the, knowledge of what the RICO laws are in America. Is there anything like that in Australian law that, would try and catch out those who were coming together? I mean, I would have thought the ACCC would be able to investigate things like that, but they seem to be a toothless tiger. Yeah, well, they're a toothless tiger, and they're an old toothless tiger at that.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll level a fine. No, don't level a fine. Take their license to trade off them.
That's all. That's a RICO. That's a RICO, which I will go into pretty deeply when it comes to police, the courts, the council, the parking fine, the speeding fine, the spare and transport, and just all the third-party interlopers with malicious intent. RICO. Okay. So what is RICO?
So where do we start? What is RICO?
Okay, so RICO means it's coming from America, United States. Racketeering Influence and Corrupt Organization. It goes back to the 1970s. Yes, it's coming from America. Yes, we do have prevalent here in Australia, the land of the Commonwealth of Australia, we got the Criminal Code Act 1995 Commonwealth when it talks about the criminal organization. We got the Procedure of Crimes Act 2002 to Commonwealth. And we do have as well under the Criminal Code Act 1995, Section 390.3, participation in criminal organization. 10 years imprisonment, by the way.
Right. Nope. Something's happened. Mona has dropped out completely. We'll see whether or not we can't pause at this point by hitting.
So the Criminal Code Act 1995, Section 390.2, which is actually talks about, and 390.3, participation in a criminal organization, maximum penalty is 10 years imprisonment. Then there is a 390.2 associated with criminal organization members. Then you got the 390.4 recruiting for criminal organization. Okay. And that falls under the Criminal Code Act 1995. And I'm going to get into that. Even if you got RICO in America, you can use American stuff, okay? Because we are registered in America with CIK numbers. And I'm not sure if I sent you the New South Wales, especially the New South Wales Corporation letter back in 2009, 11 pages when it was written from here from New South Wales about the New South Wales Treasury Corporation and the Crown in Right, New South Wales. That they registered in America, and they basically wanted to merge the two corporations. So we all registered in America. We can use American law. And guess what? They really, really know that here as well. Just remember, IRS forms can be used with ATO because ATO belongs to IRS. IRS is Internal Revenue Services in America, and ATO belongs to them, okay? So even if you got IRS form, which is the 3949A, which we like to use for RICO cases, you can actually send it to ATO when you're reporting tax evasion and dangerous taxpayers, because these guys are dangerous taxpayers. And basically when we talk about RICO, and this is, I know it's going to blow your minds away, but anytime you've been dragged to the court because you're speeding fine, or the police officer stopped you, or you had a parking fine, or
something that caused no harm.
Yeah, and there was no harm, loss, or damage, right? Because you got a parking fine because you were spending over whatever 30 minutes longer, but you didn't buy the parking ticket, bullshit stuff, right? Or the police officer stopped you because you were speeding, but there's no harm, loss, or damage. So I'm talking about no harm, loss, or damage, yeah? There's no victim, there's no injured party. So let's see, this police officer stops you, you get a speeding fine. What's happened? And this is very interesting. So you know how the fines, you got this police officer issued a fine. What they do, they send it to Revenue New South Wales, which is a third-party interloper. Now, third-party interlopers, they only interfere with malicious intent, okay? And they passing over the box because they don't want to take commercial liability. And if you look it up, especially New South Wales, and I just worked it out not a long time ago, a couple of weeks ago. You know how we got Service New South Wales, we got Revenue New South Wales, then we got Transport New South Wales. So one is collecting the money, another one is chasing you, and the third one canceling your license, right? And sometimes you ask Revenue, and Revenue, oh, no, it's Service New South Wales. Oh, no, it's Transport New South Wales. No, it's Revenue New South Wales. And you're going back like a yo-yo, right? Because you got all these third-party interlopers, because the police officer started, right? So that's number one. That man should only do the prosecution, no one else. Then they get another third-party interloper. So there is another RICO member. Then you got Service New South Wales joining the club. Then you got the Transport for New South. That's a RICO case. That's an organized crime, okay? And if you go to court, right? You got the police officer. You want to take it to court. You got the prosecutor. The prosecutor is a third-party interloper. That's again RICO. So they are all part of the RICO. Then you got the magistrate. The magistrate is part of the RICO. So you see that the whole thing, it's an organized crime, right? And this is what I was talking about last time. And any single time you go to court, it must go under probate court. Okay? It has equity jurisdiction because they're dealing with the deceased estate. So to make sure that they can, do financial rape, statutory rape, whatever you want to call it, they create this RICO case, right? Then you don't know who is in the zoo and who's playing with who. So now this is where it comes important, the 39498, which I'm going to send it to you and you can upload it. And my case was, that's with my case I started back a couple of months ago. And it's very interesting that how they're reacting, because my case example, I had a RICO members, Strato committee members, part of the RICO, the Strato company, part of the RICO. You got the lawyers, third-party interpreters, part of the RICO. I had MOK, the assessor, part of the RICO. I had whatever, I don't know how many registrar, part of the RICO, right? Then I'm just trying to remember, because I had like 18 men and women participating in the RICO. Then some people go up to 50, right? Especially when you're in court, you got, let's see, you got 5 baristas, 3 lawyers, whatever, I don't know how many professionals, because this is so common. And when people actually comprehend, and this is what I actually been talking about, and I got to go into the family courts as well. If you got all these third-party interlopers, right, they're all about the malicious intent. And they grabbing all these third-party interlopers to make the case, oh my God, it's complex. Bullshit, it's not complex. That's how they can do the organized criminals. They're all colluding. So you got lawyers, you got solicitors, you got judges, you got magistrates. They're all colluding with the council or police or the police officer. And it just from one fine, right? The New South Wales example I'm talking about, even if you just got a simple fine, right? And you go to court, magistrate is part of if the case is not getting dismissed, and again, you haven't caused any harm, loss, or damage, okay? And the case is still go ahead, we're going for trial and all the bullshit. You got the prosecutor sitting in RICO, the police is sitting in RICO, and the magistrate is sitting in RICO. And that's when you need to fill out the 39499, which I'm going to send you, and I'm going to send you the sample as well. You can use mine, whatever I used in my case, because I'm posting it up on Facebook. It's out there. It's absolutely a RICO case. All these lawyers, if they're interfering without your consent, okay, they're third-party interlopers, which is malicious intent. And that's where it comes, the malicious commercial civil or criminal prosecution. Okay, whatever, if you are in civil matter or criminal. And these guys are all working together against the living, because they're using the estate, which is created by the state. You see the RICO? It's unreal.
I do. What I don't see is a way to combat it. So this bit of paper you've got is obviously pretty powerful.
Yeah, it's only one page. I'm just thinking, I have one. Hold on. I'm just going to show you, but obviously I'm going to send it to you. And my favorite one is my lovely MLK assessor, who absolutely railroaded me a few times. I love her so much. I just have to forgive her. But anyway, it's I'm going to send it to you anyway. 3949A. It's the IRS form. And it's a sample, like how do you fill it out? And actually put it there as well. RICO participants. There you go.
Yeah, right.
RICO case participants. Then, you send it to ATO. Obviously, you have to report to ATO because they are dangerous taxpayers. Okay. And you report it because it's an organized crime. So if you're in New South Wales, we got ICAC. If you send the 18 of them, ICAC, or if you are in CCC, which is in Queensland, Victoria is IBAC, they're supposed to do their investigation. Okay. Guys, they don't like it because that's report the tax evasion as well, because they're using the legal name and they're dipping into your estate, which is tax evasion, which is security fraud. And you have to report it to ESIC as well. Okay. And I'm going to send you the email addresses. I think ESIC is the report.misconduct@esic.gov.au. And I think ATO is report tax evasion. I'm going to send you all the email addresses. Where do you report it? And you can send it. And of course, you can send it to United States as well. There is the address on the 3949A. But number one, you always have to report it to ATO, because the form is from IRS, and the IRS form can be used with ATO as well. So you report it first with tax evasion, ATO, then to ESIC, security fraud, and the organized criminals to ICAC, IBAC, CCC, whatever, who are doing. And you can actually,
Once you've done this, do you get your license restored or your registration returned to your vehicle or whatever compliance method they've used on you? Or like, once again, we're getting to the point where I understand we're fighting a battle and we can't win every battle. We are going to win the war. But where is this going with the RICO, as you suggested, as if we can take all of this paperwork into the court, we're really only getting,
we need the numbers.
We need to take to the pinnacle. Well, and what do we do with the numbers? Is that an overwhelming amount of people who front up in court, front up with the papers, or do an overwhelming number of people turn up outside the court waving paper and rope?
So basically, look, it's pretty new, like which we've been using it, and it's putting an interesting impact. Okay, it's exposing the fraud. It's exposing that they're using the legal name, they're doing the tax evasion, they're doing the security fraud, right? So and basically by doing this, because and I know some police officers in New South Wales, they know the 39498, because when they don't provide their badge number, you can actually use the 39498 for that one as well. Okay, because they're sitting in tax evasion and security fraud. And I had some police officer in New South Wales, when I mentioned that, straight away in a couple of minutes, I got their badge number. I say, if you're not going to give me your badge number, that means you're sitting in tax evasion, security fraud, and breach of trust, right? So then I got it in 5 minutes, because they don't want to sit in tax evasion and security fraud. Every single time, anyone who's using the legal name, the birth certificate, estate, right, name, we're supposed to go under equity jurisdiction, but they're not doing it. And just remember, this RICO, this 39498, are basically, I'm not sure if anyone here in Australia basically used that. I started a couple of months ago. I know a couple of people are actually doing it. I've seen interesting impact. So most of the cases are still on. Okay, but basically what we're working on now, that more men and women report the RICO and report these organized criminals, because they're organized criminals, and I'm sorry to say that, because they're canceling the license. Where's the court order to cancel a license? A license, what does it mean, license? License means to lie, right? To do unlawful conduct. We're not even supposed to have a driving license unless you're working in commerce. So I used to work as an Uber driver, right? So I needed to have a license. I still got a license though, but that's a different story, But again, I was just doing a judicial notice another day, and it was very interesting, which I'm about to come out soon about that. Basically, having a license, it's put you under that you're mentally incapacitated, And I'm like, all this legalese language that they're putting down as incompetent, belligerent, and all that stuff. But you need to register your automobile in Service New South Wales, and all the bullshit, right? And they're not even supposed to do it, because the Monopolies Act 1623 and the Status Monopolies Act 1923, you cannot have just one company. And I know people who registered with UCC1. Some of them are getting better, some of them are not. Again, you need to inform the parties, not everyone, but at least go up to the, Centralink is a good one if you got a Centralink app, to make sure you upload all your documents, because Centralink is connected to ATO. ATO as well, it's a good one too, because they are holding and Commonwealth Bank as well, holding your Sukiwi trust, basically. So going back to your question, look, the thing is, anyone who's using this document, you need to know where you're standing. You need to know the Monopolies Act, the Statute Monopolies Act. And another thing, remember, when you got stopped by the police, this is why we're getting all the time in trouble with ATO, with all these agencies, right? They stop us, they're sending us email, and we respond. And we're giving out private informations. Under the Privacy Act 1988, I don't have to respond, I'm sorry. Under the Maximum Equity doesn't need voluntary. I see numerous men and women getting into problem with all different agencies because they answer questions. I done this as well back years and years ago. I learned this one back 4 years ago. You have to be really careful what information you give out. Remember, everything is private information. But any information you give out, it can be used against you. And that's incrimination. So you can actually deny to answer question because you don't want to incriminate yourself. Right? And it's even the police, usually they say you can remain silent, but anything you say, it can be used against you. And this is a lot of us getting into trouble. We're giving out private information. I'm not getting, we're supposed to get paid for that. $63,000 for every information, right? We don't have to give it out.
Under the statutes that our police operate under, they demand that you comply by providing identification. Unlike America, where they have to have a reason to get ID out of you, here in Australia, in most countries, you can't refuse to give it to them. We don't have whatever amendment it is that protects it.
They use the Fifth Amendment. It's interesting what you're saying, because I had a police prosecutor here in New South Wales 2 years ago. He actually said that, this is a police prosecutor in New South Wales. He actually told me that you don't have to give out information to police officer, and you got every right to deny it. Now, obviously, you're going to have some police officers like in Cooma, they're going to bash you up like in New South Wales, or they're going to taser you, or, going to drag you out from the car like in Coffs Harbour. You're going to have some cops who think they are over, like they are over the rule of law, or they are higher or whatever. I don't know what they think, or they're part of the rituals, and they do sometimes things like, oh my God, I can't believe it, that, why would you do it? Number one. Number two, remember, every single police officer, they are here only to protect and serve. Their job, and if you place them under fiduciary duty, now again, depend how many times they heard that, but their job is only to protect and serve. And when they're actually demanding all this information, they're supposed to have first facts evidence. And that's George v. Rocket High Court case 1990. You need to have first facts evidence. The police officer not even supposed to stop you. If you lose the Regina with Banner, and there's 3 court cases, I have to send you the police powers document. I can remember another 2 cases. They're not even supposed to stop us. It's a war crime. If they follow you over 5 kilometers, a police officer, that's a war crime. Right? They're not even supposed to follow you. They must have first facts evidence that you committed a crime and they got a victim injured party. Or we stop you because we're doing just a general whatever RBT bullshit, right? That's not on, and this is under the English common law rights as well. You must cause harm and loss and damage. Again, I'm not gonna say not to stop, guys. Choose your battles. Choose your battles, because some of them are, bad. Okay, and comply under duress. This is another thing. No problem. You need the license. I'm going to provide it under duress. It's not my license. I'm the beneficiary of that license. I'm holding it under duress, and I'm having it under duress. And I'll comply with it. Yeah, that's all right. And I'm complying it under duress. Okay, now they don't like it because you're not done. No, sorry. You stopped me. I stopped. Okay, with all due respect, I respect whatever you're doing. Anything I'm doing, it's going to be under duress. Anything you do under duress, it's null and void. Okay? But you have to choose your battles. This is just so important, because, you don't want to be bashed up. You don't want to end up in court and all that stuff. And sometimes just, if they ask you, obviously, if you can do it, just do it under duress, and just mention it to them and serve them the fiduciary duty, because as a public servant, right? And when they are under fiduciary duty, they cannot have conflict of interest. But this is the thing, like, they try to find you. They try to find something, try to obtain financial gain by deception, because they can charge your estate, right? The estate. So then they can get money, because it's everything. And that's the reason they will have license, so they can charge you, they can trade you, because everything is a security. Your license is a security. If you got a merit certificate, it's another bond. It's all about the bonds, the securities, like, if you're silly enough, you get a marriage certificate, and if you have to divorce, you end up in that bloody Tucken family courts. Man, God bless you and God save you, right? Because if you're not intelligent enough, Okay, you're gonna get a lawyer who's gonna rip you off. You're gonna get all these third-party interlopers, the independent jurors or report writer who lying. They've got malicious intent. Their job is to get the case as long as possible, and it's ridiculous. And when you got lawyers, solicitors involved in the case is getting tucked, and I mean tucked, because you got third-party interlopers. It's all about the malicious intent. Obtain financial gain by deception, causes much financial rape, statutory rape. Then, in the family law playbook example, they try to put you on the mental.
How does this knowledge help the person who's got, I don't know, $3,000 worth of toll fines that date back over many months or years, or however long it takes to accumulate a large toll bill, and whatever agency in whichever state it is has decided to take action about their license or their car registration or whatever it is that they do in, I think each state is a little bit different.
They were RICO participants. You report them, and as well, I would, if it's a toll, again, depend what we have done, but usually with toll, they hardly cancel your license. Again, depend what have you done. Are you challenging it? You can always take it to the court, because they put you in that corner that you have to go to the court, because that just, again, part of the RICO case. Now in New South Wales, I know there was a guy a couple of years ago, took the tolls to the court, and the whole case got dismissed. Okay, because tolls are unconstitutional again. Section, I think it's Section 92. Yeah, Section 90 is land tax. Section 92 is the traveling freely. And again, how you standing, because for toll, they shouldn't cancel your license. Again, depend which state you are and how much stuff you have done. I'm not going to say it's going to work like this. Okay, just remember, because everything is just like, sometimes you have to do things 2 or 3 times. Sometimes you have to report to ICAC and, IBEC maybe 2 or 3 times. I usually, with these RICO cases, I usually say, start with ATO, ASIC, ICC or ICAC or IBEC or the CCC, report it to your state, the Attorney General of your state and federal and state. Report it to the politicians as well. You can send it to the politicians. Sometimes you got politicians are participating in as well. In that RICO case, example, if they are in court and, they're working as a federal politician, sometimes you got them as well.
So you're suggesting that do all this paperwork, get the RICO case together, and then put it forward through whichever court or courts. And we're hoping, because we know there are good coppers, there are good prosecutors, there are good judges. We're hoping for one of them to get the case, rather than, one of the Masonic filth who've risen to power because they've learned how to roll one of their trouser legs up, and make solemn oaths to Satan. How do we bust through that?
So basically, this one, you can put it on when you're done the RICO, you can put it with your affidavit as an annexure as well to the court. Court doesn't like it. Okay. It's always, look, my suggestion is always a good one to, if you got a new magistrate or new judge, put them under fiduciary duty door and give them a chance to basically fix up this mess if they're willing to. If not, they're going to be part of the RICO as well, the RICO participation. And
so to put the judge under fiduciary duty, do you have to catch up in the chambers beforehand and present them with the document, or is
no, you just send it to them
where you stand up and are called?
So no, you send it to them. Send it to them before 24 hours before you have your court case, and place them under fiduciary duty. Again, I cannot guarantee they're going to do their job, because we got so many collusion and corruption, but giving that's just to be fair. They're not fair, and I have a lot of people telling me, but they're not fair. Yes, I know they're not fair, but just giving them basically an option to get out from this mess which was created, and settle the matter. And again, which comes when you place them under fiduciary duty, and that's, as a trustee, you're supposed to go under equity, and you're supposed to be actually compensated and, for the get a payment. That's how it's supposed to be anytime they're dealing with the deceased estate, because it's all about to raping the estate, But the thing is, we're dealing with there's a reason why it's called RICO, because you're dealing with a bunch of criminals and organized criminals, because these guys are organized criminals, okay?
So what do you say to the people who believe, and I was sitting at lunch with one today, who believes the trust doesn't exist, that just flatly doesn't exist? How do we prove to them that it exists?
Well, I'll tell you what, I talked to a couple of public servants and they didn't deny it. And one of them employees actually from CBA Bank, and wouldn't deny it, was just listen, couldn't wait to get off the phone, including ATO as well. So, and I know someone actually who's got with ATO a credit account as well. So not just the debit, but got a credit, okay? So, look, if you don't know this whole structure, how is everything set up, because if you start thinking about it, why, like logically, why they want to fine us, tax us, and all that stuff for everything? Like you go, it's just, for me, I question like, why they want to take you to court? Why? They must have some, and just test it out. Just go to the court and ask the judge, do you have any financial interest in this matter? Or do you have any security interest in this matter? You watch their face, ask them 3 times on the public record, for the record, do you have any financial interest in this matter? Do you have any security interest in this matter? Right? Because they're administering the estate. So if you logically think about it, why, like, you got this, how do you call it, public holiday and double demerits and all that bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Why you have to do it? And they say, because traveling fast is not safe, blah, 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 blah. Part of the brainwashing, right? Yeah. Like a lot of things, it's a part of the brainwashing. Now, going back again to the trust, there is so many. You look it up, the Sestuiki KVX 1666, and look it up, the Sestuiki KVX 7 or 1707. Why we have that God Acts? Then you got the slavery system. You got the UCC1, how to free yourself from tyranny. The UCC1 filing. So why we got so many? Even look it up, the birth certificate content revenue in New South Wales, which I sent you last time. Content revenue. Your birth certificate is to discharge liabilities. It's in front of us.
Yeah.
Of course, you're going to have judges and magistrates who's going to deny it. They're saying, I never heard about it. Now, when I heard this one, I'm like, man, you look at us like we are absolutely stupid idiots. When we know that you know, and that you know that I know, right? Because I know a lot of public servants, when I talk to them, they know that I know, right?
Yeah.
Because you get to that certain stage, and because of, I've been out quite loud about this whole thing. And there's,
imagine the public servants that you're talking to that know about this are not low level. They're not the person that answers the phone when you ring up for help.
It's interesting what you're saying, because I think some of us who are very awake and very aware what's going on, we got special people who talking to us, because there are some of the people that don't know how to handle it. It would be just way too much.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I talk with a lot of public servants, and it's very interesting that how many, like even one of the council, she knew exactly about the birth certificate. She knew, and it's like, I'm working here. What can I do? So there's a lot of public servants knows about this, and they just like, shutting us because, I need to pay my bills. I need to work. What am I going to do? What can I do? I can't go against them who's actually paying me. You know what I mean? And you got a lot of men and women like that. Not to mention, we had a broker, and we just placed that lovely broker under penalty of perjury. 4 questions. 24 hours later, went on stress leave.
Yeah.
And it was only 4 questions under penalty of perjury, place them under penalty of perjury, provide this material evidence. Wasn't that much? And when you realize that mortgage fraud, which is another one, so you got the birth certificate fraud number 1, and then you got the mortgage fraud, it's just like, and it's like, and you got.
I heard today that every mortgage is worth $200,000 to $250,000 in pure profit to the banking institutions.
Even more. I think it's I think in 30 years it's get paid off. Oh, I can't remember exactly, but I think it's every 3 years it's get paid off. You know, all that interest, because as soon as you sign that mortgage document, the credit was already provided to you. It's already paid. When you sign the document, they give you credit. They don't give you money. What credit? Where is the credit coming? That's not money. That's only a credit. Where is it coming from? Your Sukivi trust. It's coming from your estate. The birth certificate. The birth certificate, because the birth certificate is which is traded. It's everything is all connected to the birth certificate, the legal name, the slavery, and everything is trading. And if anyone, and I think I already sent it to you, the court registry investment system. It does make sense now why they're doing, criminal cases, because it's triple dipping. So if you got a criminal case, it's triple dipping. If you got a civil case, it's only, in a very low level. They don't charge as much. And there is a malicious commercial criminal prosecution. I'm going to send you that document. It's only 1 page. And how they malicious and all that stuff, how they're creating it. All this third-party interloper. The prosecutor not even supposed to be in the court case. What are you doing? Yeah, you just got only hearsay evidence. What are you doing? Who invited you?
Yep,
the
true.
Police officer is supposed to prosecute you. And again, the magistrate, if you use the canon law 3243, the magistrate only can go ahead with your case if they sworn an oath and they got both parties' consent. But that's again ignored. Why? Because they're RICO, they organized criminals, right?
Yeah.
Everything is consent. Every single man and woman goes to the court, it's consent. Then that's another thing they do, cross-vesting. They're cross-vesting between the man and the deceased estate. So we're talking about personage, barratry, malfeasance, breach of trust, and list is not exhaustive. Lawyers know that very well. Lawyers know this very well. So
it's just such a deeply tangled web. Sometimes it's well, for me at least, it's a matter of trying to figure out where to begin and how best to do it. So we started this off talking about RICO, and I think you've explained pretty well how RICO works here in Australia, given the different agencies and the different organisations. Where a lot of, I think, our illegality happens is inside the bureaucracy. And they're often protected by the government. Doesn't matter which particular flavour is in power at the time. They're protected by both. Or it seems, if you look at the preferences and the way they've been handed out to the parties or by the parties, they're protecting each other. And they're not looking to try and do better things for the people by having more, freedom-loving and very motivated, good people in that parliament. So how can this program and what you're teaching help those of us going forward that want to make a difference? And we need more people to make a difference. I need the person that accused me today of not knowing anything at all about anything at all. And I'm sure that person had done absolutely no research on anything. But when they brought up there is no trust, and I hadn't actually mentioned this SQV trust at all. When they brought up there is no trust, I thought, well, at least they've been asking about that. This person happens to work deeply inside the government and, in the bureaucracy. And I'm sure they're getting direct information. Oh, no. Don't need to worry about things like that.
Probably he or she was under secret oath, so can talk about it. So if they are under the secret oath, they can talk about it, like, lawyers and stuff like that. Because I know lawyers and baristas as well that I talk to, and they wouldn't deny it. Like, why wouldn't deny it? And so it's and I seen actually someone as well. That's coming from New Zealand, how they got the $230 million put down as a lien on their birth certificate, and someone actually had it on the central link up, came up, that how much money they're sitting. So
wow, okay.
There's a lot of stuff out there, you know what I mean? And these people, like, done a lot of research, and they deep into that stuff as well. And obviously, especially people who are working inside the government, a lot of them actually can't even talk about it because they're under the oaths. Okay, and just remember this, especially lawyers and stuff like that, they are under the secret oaths, and they cannot talk about it because they were actually, if you remember, Romney Stewart was close to get the black card. One day before, his lawyer got killed. Okay, and there was yes, we're talking about a couple of years ago. There was another lawyer actually just got killed in Victoria. So, and these guys, they all knew about the stuff, you know what I mean? So look, I've done a lot of research as well, and I've been talking people from America, Canada, UK, and from here in from Australia as well, to Australis, and there's a lot of information out there, and there is some people getting royalty payment as well, not to mention that as well. So, you know what I mean? And I had actually confirmed by one of the living being. Now, there's a lot of stuff like, what I'm saying. Some of them are under NDA, non-disclosure agreement. Obviously, they cannot talk about it. Okay, and which I do get it. So that's if you do your research and you dig into deeply, it's basically everything is paid. And there's a lot of stuff is actually out in front of us because they're hiding it, but they're not hiding it completely. Do they going to deny it? Yes. Look it up, the fruit from poisonous tree. And I've seen that they actually, I can't remember, was it this week or 1 or 2 weeks ago in court, the script which was used by this third-party interloper, exactly how it's written in the fruit from the poisonous tree. I've seen actually judge as well. Yes, when he started talking, I'm like, this is all from the fruit from the poisonous tree. Open up the book, you do the research, boom, that's it there. I had judges as well, like magistrate. I never heard about the Sestuiki Act 1666. And I'm like, I started smiling because 3 weeks ago, one of my friends almost got arrested because used the Sestuiki Act 1666. And when I used that, there was a couple of years ago back in magistrate's court, and you started mumbling and asking the solicitor, have you heard about it? And I'm like, I started laughing, and I'm like, this is a joke place. You're telling me that you don't know that, but 3 weeks ago you almost arrest someone, and because it's contempt of court using the Sestuiki Act 1666. Of course, it's their secret and stuff like that. But it's a joke, sometimes. And but they're using they're using actually. From that book, The Fruit from the Poisonous Tree, like I've seen that with judges and magistrates and third-party interlopers, they're using the script. They're using the script written there, like, oh no, this man or woman is incompetent. Now, another thing, what they're doing, like we are smart cookies, and that's the reason. And again, I'm back to the petition of right. This is very, very important because they try to teach you that you are mentally not okay. Because you are very in tune spiritually, and you know things that and we see things, because especially when you are in this journey, we are in a spiritual war, right? And when you are in this journey and you see a lot of stuff, like you get to the certain stage, and I'm sure a lot of people in the last 1 year go through a huge, a great awakening. When you just you're getting signs, or you see things, you see through things. Like example, lawyers and solicitors, I can see when they're in front of me, they're lying. I just see through. Like it's just like that's it. You're lying. Yeah. You're making up shit as you go, blah, blah, blah. But this is like, it comes with all that experience, and especially I've been in court so many times, and now I'm just like, when it comes to the case, I can see already, if it's no court case, they try to create court case. They try to get you private information. Then they create this RICO case. They're getting all these third-party interlopers to contact you. And maybe you're going to give out private information so you can get into trouble. Or they're going to try to get you that you're giving out voluntary information, which is under equity, can be used against you because equity doesn't aid the voluntary. And I actually had a professional a couple of years ago told me, very, very successful man in the profession. and he told me, just remember one thing: if they don't know the information, you don't give out that information, and you only give out information that you are actually confident to give out that information. That was a professional. We were talking about back in 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I never forget that one. God bless that man. He's still in the profession, but it's just like when you talk to people, there's still some good ones, obviously, who can give you a little hints.
A lot of them are retired these days.
Sorry?
Yeah. A lot of them are retired these days.
Yes.
What I would consider young lawyers, they just can't deal with the filth, and whether that be the law firms that they've worked for coming up, or they started their own business. And I know a couple, one of each in that particular example, where one guy basically got out of uni and started his own law firm, and another one aspired to be, one of the best lawyers in Melbourne, and wanted to go to one of the highest and most prestigious law firms in Melbourne, who just happened to be, of course, climbed right up a certain political party's arsehole, and have been there ever since. And yeah, it was interesting just to see how the two of them played the legal game. The guy who had his own practice was very, very good, and won more things, I think, more civil cases for the people than the other fellow would ever consider taking on, because it's just not profitable. They look at it in a different way. So there are some good ones around. In fact, we're working with one also at the moment, and I've had him on the show previously, Pete, and we'll get him on for another chat. But he's very, very busy with his client list at the moment. And in fact, if you are a lawyer and you've had enough of that system and you want to actually help some people, reach out to me here at carl@vofhq.com, and I will hook you up with Pete. He's looking for more qualified lawyers. He has a lot of work, and he has a model that if you're the right kind of person, you'll really enjoy working it. Pretty confident if you in Victoria, New South Wales, or Queensland, you'd be comfortable at being looked at, but who knows, maybe the whole country. carl@vofhq.com if you're a lawyer and you know a lawyer who's had enough of working in the evil system, if you like, and wants to give back and do a bit for the community and their community, or our community, if you like. And I don't mean just the freedom community, I mean we the people. So people who are genuinely willing to fight for us is a great thing. And you, Ramona, my darling woman, are certainly one of those. Now, you mentioned the petition of right quickly. Actually, you mentioned most things quickly, but we'll talk about that another time. We were going to try and get together a number of people for a petition of right weekend. As it turned out, Easter is a bit of a hard time to get it together for people. And we did receive, I want to say, there was half a dozen or more interested folks, all who said would love to do it, but just can't do it at Easter. So we're going to need to arrange a different time and maybe give folks a month or so's notice, and they'll be able to get to it. And we'll have a venue, be it here or somewhere else, where we hold it, and it should be a pretty fantastic day or two, I would have thought. Just explain again to those folks who might not have watched episodes 1 through 4 yet, what is the petition of right?
So the petition of right is basically, it's a prima facie document, and it's a forensic evidence, which was done by prima facie document and prima facie evidence forensic document, was done by David John Walter back in 2020. Basically, it talks about the de facto government, and when you do the petition of right, you become a British subject, private person, protected person, and you're going to operate under English common law. Okay, and it basically goes back, taxation is voluntary, and they cannot put you in mental hearse and questioning your mental state when you start talking about this is a de facto Australian government. That's not the de jure one, right? Because And I've seen this numerous times, and I cannot say that enough, okay? And particularly if you are in the family court, and I can tell you right now, 10 people that I know, okay, and as soon as you start the case, they try to put this AVO and DVO, whatever bullshit, then I have to put you on the mental hearse, okay? As soon as you put on the mental hearse, mate, that's it. You're pretty much stuck, okay? And this is the reason it's so important. I cannot say that enough, but not just family courts. It's part of the playbook, right? They put you in criminal charges to get rid of it, put you on mental hearse, right? That's part of the game. They inject you and all that shit, right? Excuse my language. Or they put you under the jail, because this is all connected to the Sister Kiev Trust, just to charge financial rape, statutory rape, and all that stuff. And this is the reason it's very important to do your petition of right. Know who you are, stand under the petition of right, because when you've done the petition of right as well, as a British subject, the statutory law, it's only applied to you if you consent to it. Now, I got men and women doing this FOI and asking for royal assent. Now, these mongers, because I don't know what to say, they are so not incompetent, they're sitting in malfeasance anyway, because they're breaching their fiduciary duty. They send you a message, it was assented. Hello, I asked you for the royal assent. I didn't ask you for the assent. Assent is the acts and legislation. We're asking about the royal assent. I've seen this numerous times, the Attorney General, state and federal, continuously mixing up. Hey, we're not stupid. We're not idiots, okay? I ask you for royal assent. Don't send me it's been assented. I didn't ask you for the assent. I asked you the royal assent. There's a huge difference, right? You don't have to have a, rocket science or some master degree to work it out. But this is what they do. Part of the misleading information, TPA 1974, Section 52. That's a misleading information. I asked you for royal assent, mate, not for the assent. And go to the website, look it up. Hello. No, anyway.
So the Governor General in the Queen or King's absence can give or pass a stamp over royal assent, supposedly.
No, they cannot.
No, they can't. It's got to go before the royal.
Okay, they cannot do they can do the assent, but not the royal assent. The royal assent must be done either by King Charles. But again, Governor General, I'm gonna send you this de facto co warranto, and it's clearly stating not even a Governor General, it's actually lawful. Not lawful.
Well,
so not the magistrate, no one's lawful.
That'll be, I suppose, no uncertain news to Ricardo Bosi, who I watched read a letter that he is sending or has sent to the Governor General. That letter didn't say any different to, I assume, what would probably be 100,000 letters that have been sent to the Governor General outlining exactly the crimes being committed, where they're being committed, who they're being committed by, including the one that the Governor General is committing. And no Governor General to this point has done anything about it. I don't think this latest version of the Crown in country is going to help. So how do we push forward with the POR? How does that make our life easier living here?
So when you've done your POR, your petition of right, now we got a fiduciary duty as a man and woman, and we got a fiduciary duty to inform these so-called agencies. But again, everything is number game. Again, I'm back to the number game. And we got so many men and women in this country who have done petition of right? Now, sometimes people get hauled up and they done the petition of right, but they're not sending it. That should be sent to all the politicians. Should be sent to state and federal, Attorney General, Governor General, state and federal, the Treasury, state and federal, the Police Commissioner, the Revenue New South Wales, Scott Johnson, all that big CEOs, whatever. So they know that you are a British subject, okay? Now, again, you're doing your paperwork, that's one thing. And again, in courts as well, you will be tested. I've seen that and I went through with that. You will be tested, right? And again, you have to inform even the chief magistrate, the chief justice, But again, it goes back to number game. Like example, in my situation, I lodged the POR last year, but because I had this lovely RICO case, MR care, right? Who was colluding with the lawyers, the Strata. She's a Strata lawyer and she's a Strata Community Association member. She forgot to disclose it, poor baby. She forgot to operate under fiduciary duty. She told me she's not under fiduciary duty. And I'm like, Mayel, right. Another liar, right? As I say, liar, liar, pants on fire. Yeah. Anyway.
Is there a chance that she's just ignorant, not lying?
No, she was lying. She was lying clearly. She knew that because in my last court case, I actually picked it up. I was very calm. And I'm going to write a transcript about my last court case. And this is another thing which I'm going to talk about next time, which I would like a lot of men and women give a go. Obviously, what I'm saying, I do stand always with the petition of right. And, having your petition of right, it's crucial, okay? Because you don't want to end up in Lululand and all that mental health or jail and stuff like that. Because I seen people like they don't have the PO1. Oh, you are in contempt of court. Oh, you are under mental health and blah, 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 right? They attacking them much better. And I've seen cases, when people were standing and done stuff that like, oh my God. But because they had the petition of right, they couldn't do it. They couldn't place it under mental health because, hey, I'm holding a prima facie evidence, forensic document. I got it. 745 politicians got it. Not one can rebut it. No Albanese can rebut it. Not Christmas can rebut it. None of this governmental agency cannot rebut it. Not to mention
what happens if the person using this has had some interaction with the mental health system in their past? Can that be dragged out and used against them, even if it was 10, 20 years ago? At the moment, I'm thinking at the moment of kids. There's sort of a generation of kids who've gone through, oh, woe is me, I don't know if my hair should be blue or pink. I don't know if I'm a they, them, it, or us. Very confused kids going to depression centers, that, I meant to try and help them out of the depression, but I don't know if they really do. How's this helped them?
If you're talking about the young generation, that's a very good question. Okay. Because it depends again, if they're under 21 and the mother has put them under their petition of right, okay, obviously the mother and the father is responsible. It does go back how the mother and the father is going to stand. Again, it's a very tricky question though, because yes, sometimes we're talking about serious mental case, yeah, and they really have it. Not to mention,
and they really do need the help.
Yes, they really need the help, but again, yeah, so this is look, I like to do natural way, go down always natural way, because I learned neuro-linguistic programming and hypnosis and all that stuff. There is a lot of spiritual work which can be done, and this generation today, the problem is they're so weak. Yeah. Like I would actually look. This is just going. I've done fire walking back in 2019, with in the Tony Robbins stuff, and it just makes your mind so strong that if you decide something, you can do it. You can heal yourself. You look at Louis Hay book, and Louis Hay talks about it, and I tried a lot of stuff. So what I'm saying, I'm talking about myself. I used to get sick and I was like, I'm healing, I'm doing well, everything is working out. And when you start feeding yourself with positivity, you start changing. Already the vibration is changing. But again, we're talking about a solid mindset. Like if you got a strong mind, you're going to have a strong body. Okay. So, and again, it goes back, the mother and the kids relationship as well,
And it probably touches on something we touched on in last week's show, in that responsibility. You have to take personal responsibility. And if the parents are going to sign a POR that incorporates the children up to an age of 21, that means the parents are literally signing on to be responsible for their teenagers through those years where weirdness and shit goes on, and their personality is formed, or a portion of their personality is formed. Some of the hardest years where they make some of the worst decisions of their lives, some of the best too, but some of the worst. And you're asking the parents to stand up and take responsibility. And I know most parents would, but what tools have parents left under this model to police their children? Because once they get to a certain age, the threat of a smack, I mean, does anybody smack anymore? There has to be a consequence. There has to be a consequence, doesn't there?
Yes.
And while I admire people who've done, like yourself, much neural linguistic programming, is that going to help you, or what are you going to say to the young Sudanese man who walks up behind you in the supermarket and plunges a kitchen knife through your back? Because they're doing it.
Yeah.
So,
and this is the thing, like, you don't know what is behind that. It goes back to childhood trauma as well, how it's been treated, because it's like, when it comes to that, there's a lot of time, and today this young generation, they're spending so much time on the bloody computer and the phones and all that stuff. They're not having that interaction, and their mindset it goes in a different level. And look, I'm a little bit blaming this whole the modern system, because I think it's so important when you are in school, you should write with with hands.
Yeah.
Right. Again, school should teach the etiquette protocol. School should teach the Bible as well. Okay, I'm not religious, but the 10 principles. Even Napoleon said that back in 1400. If men and women, the people would keep only the 10 commandments, we would have peace in this earth. It's that simple. 10
Absolutely.
commandments didn't ask too much, and this is like going back to the basic principles. And the thing is, because with these computers and all that stuff, their brain doesn't function in that way, and they getting depressed because too much device. Like, there is some kids that too much device, and they become violent. Like, there was actually, going back 20 years ago, there was I used to share an accommodation 20 years ago. Was it 20 years ago? Yeah. And this guy used to play on the computer quite a lot, and he became very aggressive, and sometimes you wouldn't know what he's going to do. And he was in his age 25 or 30, and he was go a little bit crazy, but spending 5-10 hours in that bloody computer, and every second day, that's
I'll
crazy.
give you an example. 10-15 years ago, kids were playing a game called Grand Theft Auto. Version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8.
Yeah.
Today, those 9 to 14-year-olds are 19 to 24-year-olds, and they're stealing cars, driving on footpaths, bashing people with clubs and machetes on the footpaths.
Are we talking about Gold Coast area? Are we talking about Gold Coast area?
It's happening in Melbourne. It's happening in Sydney. It's happening on the Gold Coast and Brisbane. It's happening in regional areas. These things, these kids just are out of control. Can we blame? I never wanted to be my parents. Oh, video games are bad for you. But they do desensitize you. I got into online car racing in a very serious way some years ago. And when you have an accident at 290 kilometers an hour or 350 kilometers an hour, I had a crash at once. All you do in a sim is hit reset. But had I been able to drive the real world car on a racetrack, I'd have been driving it just as hard as I was driving the sim. But there is no reset. There's just a loud and then darkness.
Yeah.
So I think there is a certain amount of desensitization that goes on with video games, something that and now, of course, they plan for it. They call it immersion. And if you, God, folks, if you've got kids who have 3D or those bloody Oculus kind of three-dimensional goggles, or you can go and play games in, look around with a helmet on and see in different directions. Just be so careful of those realms. They are looking to capture all of you and digitize every little bit of you in those places, depending on the game you're playing and whatnot. But we'll talk more about that in the future, because there is a lot more of that video game technology that's coming out. There's actually harvesting information from you from your eyeballs while you're wearing that Oculus helmet. I don't know how the hell I got onto that tonight. Mona, we've gone over my hour. It's been wonderful to talk to you. And obviously, you're in demand. Somebody's come looking for you. So I will let you go. Thank you for tonight. And we'll talk again next week. Hello, Mark. Is it Mark? I can't see. He's in the darkness. G'day, buddy. Very good. This is one of the most wonderful men that you'll ever meet, folks. But he likes to stay in the shadows just a little bit. All right, guys. Talk to you soon. And thanks again, Mona. Another great show.
Thank you very much. Have a lovely night. And we'll keep in touch. I haven't finished in regards that you were asking in regards to the kid stuff, but that's another thing, because sometimes there is organized as well, again, in the back.
Well, we can continue that next time we chat.
Yeah, we can continue next week. Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Love your work. Go and
Bye.
Have a great break for what's left of it. Bye. And you too, folks. Don't forget tomorrow night, a whistleblower, I guess, is the only way I'm going to be talking about, or best way of describing my guest for tomorrow night's show. DFAT, ASIO, ASIS, all areas that there may or may not be a bit of experience in. So look forward to catching you up tomorrow night at 6:30 for The Voice of Freedom. It's going to be another interesting show. I want to also flag somebody else I'm going to be talking to. I think because of time zones, we'll be recording that program in the afternoon, I want to say, of next Thursday, but I'll play it Thursday night unedited. It's a lady who I haven't spoken to in well over a year. And I've got a few questions relating to the entire program that she was and still is a large part of. I'm talking about Emily from QSI. And I'm really looking forward to sitting down and having a chat with her in person. I had that opportunity recently, and God kept us apart for whatever reason. So hopefully that will change in the not too distant future. But anyway, she'll be here from her place back in the States on Thursday night, in Thursday night's show. Anzac Day coming up on Friday. I'm a little undecided as to where I will be for that dawn service. I could be down at Currumbin, although parking is a terrible problem. And they do a magnificent dawn service at Tamborine, I'm led to believe. So I might pop up there. And if the opportunity presents and it's not too rude to be streaming, I might try and stream it from there too. At any rate, that's the plans. We'll be cutting more wood this week. Don't forget, winter is a-coming, folks. It's been a little bit chill, particularly around these areas of nighttime. If you are looking for some wood, don't think you've got to pay hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars to get tons of it delivered. We have a fair bit of wood. If you've got a trailer, or you've got somebody with a ute, or you've got a car with a boot, maybe you've got a car with a back seat, a few healthy kids could do with, doing some curls with some nice little bits of red gum, we can help you out. We are cutting and splitting and cutting and splitting and cutting and splitting. And so far at the moment, I would guesstimate we don't have enough to put a huge run on for anybody. We've probably got somewhere between 12 and 15 ton already cut. We'll put in another big effort into it this week. And we have a lot of mulching work we've got to get into this week too on the property. So you may well see me, pardon me, rather dirty in a couple of the shows this week. We'll see how it all goes. At any rate, whatever you're doing, I hope your Easter is safe. And if you're having that little extended break between now and Anzac Day, and having the Anzac Day long weekend as well, you lucky bastards. Anyway, dodge those dickheads on the roads, folks. They are out there. I dodged 2 of them today, and I'm bloody sure there were more out there.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's rock!